persistent undercounts that occur. That's an example of just to give you a sense of what might be becoming for you can decide. We don't need to see that kind of thing. We're working on an inventory right now of everything related that bureaus think is related to the efforts of equity or human rights. We're piloting that initial survey in 2 bureaus. Great to bring that before you all and show you what our assumptions were, what the initial pilot inventory has brought back, and it obviously relates to external and internal issues, so it's a great substantive thing to chew on. And then we've got the whole disparity study response, which was a 3-year legal study, mind-numbingly full of legal issues. You're a lawyer, right?
I was before tonight.
Okay. So I think, you know, I just wanted to give you a sense of the kinds of issues that we have to make decisions on as a council that we could use your help. And again, that's not to say you have to take up any of them, but if you choose to, we would benefit from it.
And similarly, if you do choose to take up a particular issue like housing equity, then the mayor and I will make sure that the Housing Bureau staff are responsive to you, giving you the information that you all need to present. So it's really by including, because we see the Office of Equity, it's going to be a small entity, but it's going to have tethers and influence over every single bureau in the city. So that when we educate and encourage each of the bureaus to participate in this, the mayor will be able to require that they do, regardless of whether they're in my portfolio or not. I can require the bureaus in my portfolio to do a certain something, but the mayor can require all of them. So I encourage you, as you consider who might be mayor in 2013, to ask the candidates about equity and about human rights and make sure that they realize that this is hot on everybody's agenda right now, is so-called everything. So that F and G speak to the issue of guaranteed staffing, and this is a bonus seal that we will be establishing a new classification of director of the Office of Equity and Human Rights, and you will be involved both in working on the job description, doing the job application,
Review.
yes, and then we'll have probably several community committees involved in the hiring process for the director. It's one of the reasons I really want to get this done on the 21st, is so that we can then start that process. We're hoping to do a national search for a director. It'll take a while to get the applications where we all think it needs to be in terms of what the requirements are and what we want this person to do. Then we'll do a national search, and I'd like all of your help in reaching qualified candidates to encourage them to apply. We'll have the community involved in the hiring process. The mayor and I together will make the final decision about who is chosen, and my hope is that that will happen by the end of the calendar year.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Senior staff position, that would be someone working under the director of the Office of Record.
Yes.
So that in essence, that would be a seconded staff position to the commission.
I don't know what that means.
Seconded. The person is asked to serve a particular entity. What I'm getting at is the commission still has no staff.
The commission has the staff person.
Well, no, because authority and accountability is not in our hands.
Commissioner, if I can speak just in an unvarnished fashion, the original ordinance was not written so that the staff is supervised by the commission. I realize that that was the impression, and that was sort of the understanding some folks on the commission, those that came before you had, but that is not what I voted on. That wasn't the legislative intent I had. We don't have any other commission where the commission hires and fires staff. Our job is to work with the bureau managers to make sure that you have the staffing and the resources to be effective.
That's understandable. Thank you, Mayor, for that statement. The point is that this commission is different from other commissions in the city, and it should be. Secondly, when there comes to be an issue between the supervisor of that person and the commission, that's where the problems take place.
We haven't had those kinds of problems.
We have,
We've had them here because the legislative intent, respectfully, what you understood the intent to be, the way the staff might have been hired initially or what have you, and what, as a member of the council at the time, and knowing what the ordinance said, there was a big misunderstanding, and I wasn't part of the actual hiring and the initial, paneling of the initial commission. And that was definitely a problem. That is a problem for me as one of your elected officials. Your job, our job, is to provide you with the staffing resources that you need to fulfill your mission, your independent mission. But I'm elected and responsible for providing you that staff support, which is different than you hiring and firing and directing staff. I can't support that.
Could you support inclusion in this ordinance that the Human Rights Commission would be able to provide input to the director of this bureau at the time of performance evaluations?
Absolutely.
Can we write that into the ordinance?
In my opinion, yes. We absolutely, and currently we have other commissions, for example, the Planning and Sustainability Commission is conferred with in terms of Susan Anderson's performance. Absolutely.
The stuff is in the code, but
I would just suggest again, because of the changes we see and the difficulties, that would be.
it would be helpful for the code and the ordinance to be a little bit more in sync with each other.
Well, that's what we're trying to do here, and I appreciate the unvarnished conversation and your willingness to listen to me.
That's all we have here.
Yeah, your willingness to listen to me because I read the code and I know what the practice and your understanding was, and your original code that set you up said nothing about you hiring and firing or staffing. But that was definitely the understanding of the commission, and I don't want to repeat that.
the problem with your suggestion, Commissioner, is that the code as proposed has a purpose for the office and a list of the director's powers and duties. I don't know that, what,
You can just put it there.
Can you request that the director consult with the commissions that are falling underneath at the time of performing a performance evaluation? And that can be asking for it in writing.
okay, yes, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
That's only,
So we
how else
put one of the.
are we going to get your input on whether or not we are staffing you appropriately?
So we could put under the director's powers and duties, request feedback from the Human Rights Commission, Commission on Disability, and other advising citizens
Right.
partners.
Yeah,
we can do that.
for the purpose of establishing annual performance evaluations
Sounds good.
of staff.
Yeah, thank you.
Donna, you have? Thank you for coming. And I especially appreciate you, Commissioner Fritz, coming because I know we had a conversation about you feeling welcome to be here, so thank you for coming. I have a kind of a prurient interest in this beyond my years. My parents came here in the early 40s, which was just a few years after a picture of the mayor of Portland was taken with the chief of police and their Ku Klux Klan friends. So my interest in this goes beyond this commission. Whether this commission continues or not is not my main concern. Whether I sit on this commission or not is not my main concern. My main concern is that justice be done, and that it be done in a manner that is consistent with the needs of the people in this community. And by this community, I mean all of Portland. I have concern because we had a Human Rights Commission before, back in the 80s, that was very powerful, and it was disbanded. They were outspoken, they were kind of shaking things up a little bit, and I think that it was a necessary shake-up, but they were disbanded. And disbanded for many, many years. I think it was over 16 years that they were disbanded before this commission was brought on. And the concern that I have is that we're putting in an office here need to know, what are the guarantees that we're not going to have another situation like this past commission had? What are the guarantees that we have as citizens? Forget this commission, but as a citizen, what are the guarantees that we are going to have some oversight and some inclusion? When you have a commission and they're working with staff, I understand the legality, and I understand what you're saying about the order of, excuse me, I'm an elementary school teacher, a retired one at that, so I'm trying to think of big words to use there. But I understand what you're saying, that you are the one who are, you know, the buck stops with you. And I understand that. That's not a problem for me. The problem I have is that I did not see the coordination with the executive committee of the commission. This one, and I don't know about other commissions. I haven't sat on other commissions, but I'm just saying that I think that there needs to be some kind of communication with the commission about staff, and that, and along with what Tricia is saying, that some input be had along the way, keeping us apprised of what's going on. Another concern that I have is that we have not, to my knowledge, been given any feedback on what our performance is, whether it's good, bad, and different. And I think that that's wanting. You know, that I don't know what is the purpose of having a commission if it is not given feedback on what the performance is and how it is aiding in the issues of the city and what needs to happen further. And I'm hearing that the office, that the HRC is going to be included in this, and up to this point I've been very confused about what the role of the HRC is going to be in this. And I have and because of this history, I have concerns about where is this going? What is going to happen ultimately with this new Office of Equity? And will it really be given a voice? Will it really be given power to help deal with issues in the community? It's one thing to have people come in here. We can have people come and hear us. We don't have any power.
Well, I think a couple of things. I think as you were talking, I think the inclusion of the notion, whether it needs to be in the ordinance or in the work plan, but with some of our other, like the Planning and Sustainability Commission, believe me, they protect their independence as much as you do. Different topics. Now their charge includes equity as well, but it also includes education for the first time, and it includes some other things. You're going to be the preeminent place when it comes to equity and human rights. But I think as you were talking, what came to mind was the notion of, you know, an annual work plan for the office, what you think, how you would like to be involved, on what issues you want to be involved in. A couple of issues I threw out for you, just as possibilities is begin to whet your appetite. What we've talked about is you've been underutilized. We haven't come to you for advice, is part of what I hear you saying. And we want to use you to higher and better results. You're putting in a lot of time, you've invested a lot of time to get to the level of expertise that you have. And part of what's happening here is more resources to the overall effort, of which you are a part of, and the Commission on Disabilities, and a more thoughtful, planful strategy and work plan, so we kind of all know what we're working on, and you get to have input into what you want your role to be. There'll be things we do maybe that you just don't think you have the time or the desire to sort of get involved. But my goal is to offer you the opportunity to in ways you haven't been offered to date.
Well, I'd like to follow up by saying I would really like to have this office and the commission, whether it's this commission or another commission that you come up with, have some teeth to really deal with the issues at hand. And people in the community might not feel comfortable. I mean, it's very intimidating to come down to City Hall and to testify. You got the green light staring you in the face. That's intimidating. And I think that it's much more approachable to come to a commission of community people and be able to voice a concern by citizens of the community. But the question is, what can that commission